This allows you to also slow or speed the train up. You got a brake button, and then all you gotta do is just adjust the dial. As a kid, I collected a few trains. I actually enjoyed going to museums and seeing the real thing. It wasn't until later that I actually started building my collection. A lot of it is just setting the speeds to make sure you're not burning out the train. What fascinated me about trains was basically all the different types of cars and how they function and move. My grandmother had a lot to do with that. She encouraged us to go and check out the trains in downtown Crystal Lake, specifically the circus train. And then when I was about 8, my parents picked me up the Tyco G.I. Joe train set. Hi, I'm Matt Drennan, the owner of MD Trains here in Woodstock. MD Trains is basically your classic all-round hobby shop. We carry everything from trains to cars to soldiers, pretty much anything you can envision that for the last 50 years people have collected. This all came together in quite a bizarre way, honestly. I went to college to be originally a cartographer, drawing maps. It turned out I wasn't very good in ink, but I was very good in pencil and fell into landscape design. It also turned out that there was a market through the landscaping company I was working for to design railroad gardens, which allow for larger trains to be put outside in the yard. And that led me into a train shop that was also a nursery called St. Albans. They brought me into the train store altogether. When they closed down, we decided to open this up. My wife only had one rule, and that is, I better never complain about my job because all I'm doing is going to work to play. We started as an internet company. We were online out of the house for 4 years. In 2018, we moved into the building next door, which was 950 square feet, and we were in that building for 4.5 years. And then in 2023, we moved in here, which this is 3,000 square feet. So we've been getting progressively bigger as we go. For me, the appeal of putting it in downtown Woodstock was the tourism aspect. This town is known for movie making. Obviously, the famous one is Groundhog Day. So in all of that, in my mind, looking at a classic American layout of a square, I felt that with an American hobby, which is what this is, it would fit really well in this environment. So this is your classic diesel horn. We have a saying, and that is, this shouldn't work. But the fact of the matter is that we opened this business in 2018. In 2018, the hobby industry was in a slight freefall. Toys R Us had just shut down. Hobbytown around here closed both their locations, one for retirement, one for bankruptcy. And in that situation, we walked into a vacuum. There were still hobbyists out there. They still wanted to buy their trains. They still wanted to get their cars, and it just grew from there. We started out as a typical train shop, added in the cars, added in the models, and we have become a general hobby shop. I will tell you, COVID was a big help. Everybody was stuck at home. Everybody wanted to work on something. They couldn't drive to work. They had these extra commuter hours. They couldn't go on vacation. So what did they do? They dusted off an old hobby and they started putting it together. I always say this is kind of a big boys club. You come in here on a regular Saturday, you will see people chatting about anything you possibly imagine, and they're all across the spectrum. You'll have a doctor in one aisle, you'll have a ditch digger in the other. They all have this shared communal response when they're talking about trains and cars. The hobby shop environment has changed, that is for sure. You had a hobby shop in every single town, but as kids got more busy, as lives started to interfere, as sports was taken on as more of a job than a plaything for children, the hobby shop environment started to change, and it took a long time for that environment to adjust to the reality that it is today. The fact of the matter is, you can probably count on 2 hands the number of hobby shops between Alsip and the Wisconsin border right now. For us, that's great. We have our bubble in which to pull customers from because they either have to go all the way to the lake, all the way to Rockford, head south to Elgin, or go north across the border into Wisconsin. And it allows us to gather up more customers from these regions. Honestly, it is also a little bit of a loss. It represents how some of these downtowns have kind of rolled up the carpet because these kind of shops are sometimes some of the first ones to go. I love retail because it gives me control of my own fate. Honestly, as a self-employed business owner running my own shop, I set my hours, I make my operations, and I am ultimately responsible. I don't have boss above me who is basically telling me how to do things, and I may not like it. The decisions are mine. In a lot of ways, yes, I do get to be an adult kid. My wife says that on a regular basis. I'm basically going on 50, but I'm 13. We are retail.